Yo, what's going on, everyone? Today's video is sponsored by absolutely nobody. I really just enjoy talking about music, and I don't get paid to do this. So, if you've taken the time to watch this video, or if you've ever watched any of my previous music reviews, or if you engage with the content that I make and have listened to the music that I make, thank you so much. I really appreciate the support, and any likes, shares, etc. All that is greatly appreciated as well, of course. But anyway, today's video, I'll be discussing the latest album to be released by the band Lorna Shore, this being their fourth studio album entitled Pain Remains. For those who are not familiar, Lorna Shore is a deathcore slash death metal band from New Jersey, originally formed back in 2009. Their music tends to showcase an array of sounds, a blend of black and death metal, deathcore, and symphonic metal as well. They first hit my radar after the release of their sophomore album back in 2017, entitled Flesh Coffin. Their polished and brutal sound is what really caught my attention, and that album was a project that sucked me into the expansive realm of extreme metal music. This album marks a big shift in the band's history, with two new members joining the group. Following the abrupt firing of their previous vocalist, CJ McCreery, due to allegations of sexual abuse, the band abruptly put all future plans for an album and tour on hold. That was back in 2019, and since then they have recruited former vocalists for metal bands such as Monument of a Memory and Awake in Providence, Will Ramos. Ramos has joined as their new main vocalist, and Matt Yeager has also joined as their new bassist. Together, the newly formed quintet introduces us to this new chapter of the band's brutal discography by unveiling a thick and fascinating concept album. Unforgiving in its execution, Pain Remains is a total of 10 tracks, running close to an hour in length. As always, I'll be offering my thoughts and highlights track by track. I'll try to keep my thoughts brief. There is a lot to get into here. Naturally, starting with the first track, here entitled Welcome Back, Oh Sleeping Dreamer. The intro track is an explosive opening which features beautiful symphonic elements. We hear that during the beginning as dramatic percussion, strings, piano, and a vocal choir build into the meat of the song, the main part of it. The music is cinematic in its execution, full of reverb, and the mix is wide. The song has a massive explosion about 2 minutes in, once the band bursts onto the song and Ramos hits us with those guttural growls. What follows is a bombastic blend of blast beats, visceral growling, and shredding guitar riffs. The instrumentation is tight, and the performances set a very high bar for the album, which it also does meet. The pacing is great as the band manages to balance short breakdown verses and melodic sections. That's especially helpful in this song as it's about 7 minutes in length. And of course, the average listener would likely be fatigued if it weren't for the healthy dose of variation that is featured here. Around halfway into the song, the symphonic orchestration blends with the band's metal drive, creating a beautiful sound akin to symphonic metal, with prominent deathcore elements shining throughout. After this, we have a gnarly breakdown section which drops the symphonic accompaniment. It features tasteful growling and a verse with great screaming on there. The fast-paced guitar riffs and blast beats gradually grow louder as we seamlessly enter an incredible guitar solo in the final third of the song. This then leads to an excellent breakdown section, absolutely brutal in its execution. The guttural growls mesh well with the unforgiving down-tuned guitars. The mixing on the drums makes the percussion feel larger than life. The sound is massive. The penultimate vocal section features a performance reminiscent of spoken word, with distorted vocals and a cool filter added for effect. And what follows is more screaming and a breakdown, and the vocal choir rejoins to usher us out into the end of the song. It's notable that the lyrics here don't follow a set structure from what I can tell. They play out a lot like a stream of consciousness. And thematically, this song is the opening chapter for this narrative that the band builds for the concept album. As lead vocalist Ramos has explained in interviews, quote, "The whole song is about falling into this place that feels familiar, but it's somehow not familiar at the same time," end quote. The speaker in the song is the narrator, describing to the listener the possibilities that exist within the realms of dreams, in an effort to expand the listener's mind to the potential and I guess limitless nature of the human psyche. In many ways, the protagonist goes from listener to speaker as the album goes on. As Ramos screams towards the end of the song, witness a world forever changing where restless minds idle in creation. Embrace your new reality and feel the world slow down. Frozen in a world in slow motion, memories twist into anonymity, cloaked familiarity, as the dream begins taking shape into metaphysical delineation within. Fall into a dream, welcome this blessing and fall into lucidity, embracing the world and becoming the one, the architect, benevolent, accepting the material world as enslavement, but here in this place you are attunement. Track 2 is entitled Into the Earth. The brief orchestral intro throws the listener into the first brutal section. Blast beats, screaming, and guitar performances moving at light speed bombard the listener with a wonderful wall of sound. Eventually, the music calms down as we enter the chorus. Ramos shrieks along with a soft piano accompaniment. The tone is melancholic as the chord progression moves along with the piano, providing subtle melodic elements for the listener to enjoy. Soon the blast beats return, building up to a breakdown. There's plenty of double pedal kicks and guitar riffs that tear into the listener's eardrums like a chainsaw. I enjoy the shift in the guitar riff which follows as the music begins to change. A vocal choir enters the mix briefly, evoking an aggressive sense of beauty. Just imagine you're playing Doom Eternal on Nightmare mode, and you're obliterating like a million demons all at once. That's what this song feels like. After the second chorus, the song features a beautiful guitar solo. The tone is wonderfully tasteful and sounds exceptional in the mix. And after this passes, the music calms down as we follow the orchestra into the next chorus. The drums and guitar continue to tear into you as Ramos shrieks and growls. The vocals sound massive and lead you into a brief break from the instrumental, the vocal refrain. Ramos manages to sound like Gollum here from The Lord of the Rings, absolutely devious in his delivery. The song ends with a final breakdown section, ending things on a brutal note. Thematically, this song follows up where the previous left off. The last song provided a description of lucid dreams and the limitless nature of the human imagination. This song follows the album's protagonists as they realize that they're in a dream. If you've ever experienced a lucid dream, this song revolves around that moment where everything clicks and suddenly you are in control. Ramos provides an accurate depiction of that experience as he growls and shrieks during the breakdown and second verse. Lost in the scape, terrified, break me free from this nightmare. Stifled by realms uncertain, I can't escape. I'm fucking horrified, now all my fears are personified. Descent of the mind, losing touch. Sensation leaves as I'm drifting slowly. Illusions torn from my splintered veins. Reality shifts like pages turning in the wind. I'll become the sun, I'll become a god, I'll become the dreamer. Track 3 is entitled Sun Eater. This was the album's lead single, and I've got to say, it might be the catchiest song here. It is beautiful work. I think that's a strength for the tune, since most death metal that I've encountered, and deathcore by extension, it's more about the mood, the feel of the music, the way it hits your soul at its very core. This song does the same in a way that offers familiarity, melody for you to follow throughout the brutality. We hear this at the beginning as we're met with a gorgeous orchestral instrumental. The main melody is introduced via the blend of strings, choir, and horn section. The cinematic feel of it meshes with the metal drive once the drums and guitars begin to shred you apart. The screams are like the vinaigrette dressing sprinkled into this epic salad that is this song. We've got a brutal verse which leads into the gorgeous chorus. The blast beats sound incredible, with the symphonic musical accompaniment in the background. Ramos shrieks and growls to mix the different timbres of his voice, and his performance is complemented very well by the music. We enter a new guitar riff soon, and the music is relentless in that movement. The breakdown that occurs at the halfway mark hits especially hard, since the listener has had no break up until then. The music slows down and feels menacing in its groove. The drums are gigantic and the guitars are brooding. It's like a titan is slowly approaching you and you're just bracing for the battle. This leads into another chorus with plenty of blast beats and shrieking. What follows is a beautiful guitar solo. It soars wonderfully over the instrumental as the music continues to tear into your core with its high octane, steady rhythmic movement. And after we hear another nasty breakdown, the song enters the most beautiful section. The main symphonic melody returns as the death metal drive injects the song with fury, creating a sound that is terrifying in its beauty. Ramos shrieks, screams, and growls along in a way that mimics the melody's rhythm. Though his vocal delivery is pitchless, he's not singing anything. It's pure vocal fry. The song ends abruptly, leaving the listener in a vacuum of the reverb trails of the instrumental. It's a massive conclusion to one of the biggest highlights of the album. Thematically, this song is a natural expansion on the previous song. Ramos has explained that the protagonist reaches a godlike status as they come to understand that through lucid dreaming, there is a newfound ability to recreate and redefine reality. As we hear Ramos scream in the pre-chorus and chorus, contort reality, distort fallacy, pave my way, resort to malady, this lucid dream lingers onward indefinitely. Omnipotent, I am the one. Icarus, I'll touch the sun. Drawing inspiration from the story of Icarus, the song embodies an empowered sense of optimism. It's a lot like developing a creative ability as you suddenly realize that the sky's the limit in what you can do. Track 4 is entitled Cursed to Die. This song continues rocking along in the same gear as we're hit with blast beats from the get-go. The sleek guitar melodies and symphonic musical accompaniment create an epic soundscape. It's like I'm riding on a Pegasus into a deadly and dangerous battlefield. Plenty of screaming and growling here with great pacing as we transition from one section to the next. The percussive elements are unforgiving with their breakneck speed, and the mixing creates a sound that is larger than life. The melodic guitar riffs continue to develop, giving your ears something to latch onto, melodically speaking, as the guttural growls and explosive musical performances continue to trudge forward. The breakdown section at the halfway mark is especially brutal, with the violent growling and simple yet effective percussive performance. The drums are mixed in a way that helps them pop massively. It's like we're moving in slow motion in the most violent manner. There's good usage of reverb and effects here, and they're not subtle, which does help the mix feel like the most bombastic blend of sound possible, and it works. The following vocal section leads into a wonderful guitar solo. It's a rush of sleek sound which works well with the violent background accompaniment. The symphonic orchestration also rejoins the mix afterwards, building up to the most epic outro as the screams and growls continue to pound into your eardrums. And lyrically, this song expands upon the established themes of creation and dreaming, and introduces the idea of fulfillment within this dreamlike state and space. As we hear Ramos scream in the chorus, all will rise and fall, their flesh and bone. My sins and resolve permeate their desires. I am absolved within their design. My legacy will live on. We can think of this as creating others within our dreams. The protagonist inevitably found the dream state to be lonely. Ramos builds upon this as he asks the question, but is it enough to satisfy my legacy? He continues in the second verse, countless years come to pass, separated from Kronos. This is my domain, I'm the face of death. My image, this eternal sin, molded from everything I hold within. The protagonist realizes that they're trying to fill a void within themselves by creating a new reality. They're exploring their very being as they try to create something new in order to achieve a sense of fulfillment. Track 5 is entitled Soulless Existence. The song begins on a melancholic note with a slower tempo and sad melodies in the music. We can hear a mix of strings and electric guitars, and the drums enter slowly along with growled vocals from Ramos. The verse continues to move with this slower halftime groove. The music is blackened in its execution, with somewhat hollow guitar tones for the backing. The song picks up the pace with consistent blast beats, hitting about 2 minutes in. The shredded guitar riffs and blast beats hit us with a halftime groove. It's real headbangy stuff. The vocals do swell in a satisfying manner as we can hear guttural growls and shrieking carrying into the verse and chorus. The music continues to chug forward in that menacing manner. We alternate between breakdowns and the deathcore drive, those blast beats, as we're hit with more growling and screaming. This eventually builds up to the otherworldly guitar solo. The melody hits you with slower rhythms as the performance glides beautifully over the instrumental. The blast beats makes me want to headbang with their precise cuts and popping snares. I love the way this guitar tone is mixed into the music, and the listener has a chance to briefly breathe before we're thrust into the following section. Another vocal breakdown with gnarly growling, and the symphonic orchestration returns to the background. The instrumental grows more interesting as the lead guitar tone sprinkles in ghostly melodies throughout the music. The growls and drums remain in the foreground, and the background grows more complex, creating a beautiful wall of sound. The outro provides release as those big elements gradually fade out, leaving you with just that lead guitar to hear. Lyrically, the narrative takes an emotional nosedive. The protagonist has searched endlessly for a sense of purpose and fulfillment, but instead has found nothing but emptiness. As we hear screaming at the end of the song, I am nothing but the sum of my regret. Anchored to this hollow shell, numbness swallows me, lost in the folds inside the infinite dreamscape. On the precipice of where worlds collide, remind me of the feeling lost in the distance, cleanse me of this soulless existence. Track 6 is entitled Apotheosis. This song kicks the album into an epic gear with its huge vocal choir and cinematic orchestral accompaniment. It's like a damn boss battle in God of War. It's epic proportions here. The percussion is massive once it comes in full force, with stuttering blast beats and a huge presence. The melodies are wonderful and the vocal growls are giant, making the listener feel like they're up against the biggest demon in hell. The high-octane guitar riffs follow, hitting you with 9 mind-numbingly fast melodies, and soon the symphonic orchestration returns to the mix, bringing plenty of melody and beauty to the song. This helps create distinct, identifiable sections in the music, thus making it a more memorable experience. Halfway into the song, we enter a brutal breakdown section. The tempo takes a big shift for a slower groove, as we're hit with especially disgusting growls. This swiftly leads into a gliding guitar solo. It's brief and provides the listener with a shift in timbres before being thrown back into the gaping mouth of the blast beats. Each percussive element is like sharpened teeth ready to tear the listener apart. The orchestra finally returns as the music grows more epic and gorgeous, and soon we enter another breakdown, and the vocal growls become even more disgusting in their delivery. It sounds incredible, absolutely brutal work and performances, and it rips. Whereas the lyrical tones seem to fall in the last song, this one features a gradual rising. The narrative shifts as the protagonist is able to find a silver lining, a sliver of hope. We can hear Ramos scream, "A glimpse of light shimmers. This time you guide the way through oblivion. This trail of thorns leads on. Get me out of this maze, this labyrinthian hell bellows. I can see the way out from the disconnect closing. Illuminate this godless space and pull me out. Liberate these ruins I've become." Track 7 is entitled Wrath. This song kicks off with a steady guitar groove, and soon we can hear guttural shrieking from Ramos, luring the listener into the verse. The drums start off big, heavy, and brooding. They explode into a blast beat as the guitar riffs become more melodic. The song progresses at breakneck speeds, and we're hit with various guitar tones and melodies. The music is brutal as Ramos continues, and the other vocalists continue to hit us with shouting and growling. The instrumental calms down once we're introduced to the chorus. We're met with the catchiest guitar riff of the song, and the mix aptly, of course, shrinks to emphasize that melody as all elements drop out of the instrumental for just a moment so that the listener can be drenched in the sound of that guitar. The music swiftly picks the rage back up, hitting you in the gut with more blast beats. I especially love the shouted refrain that follows after the chorus, as it sounds like many vocalists are all screaming in unison, imposing in their aggressive chanting. It's reminiscent of Mick Gordon's work on the Doom soundtracks. It sounds incredible and massive. If you've played those games, you know what I mean. This leads into a nasty breakdown section packed with chopped and stuttering percussive elements and plenty of guttural growling. I love the subtle orchestral elements, like the sliding violins, which serve to build suspense in a cinematic manner. The instrumental breathes for a moment and builds toward the guitar solo, and it's an excellent performance, intricate and polished in its delivery, and the instrumental continues to bombard the listener with energy. The following verse and chorus relentlessly build into the most brutal breakdown towards the end. I love how disgusting the vocals are here. We can hear a blend of growling and shrieking, each residing deep in the throats of the vocalists. As the title implies, this song is about the rage the protagonist feels as they experience a growing sense of disdain towards the world they've created. As we hear Ramos scream in the pre-chorus and the chorus, "There's no sin, now I am one within me. There's no pain, it ends the same. I've fallen like the cursed angel. Beginnings ignite the sky, fall now like ash before me. Devoured by the sea, fill the hole in my chest I have manifested. Behold the new king." What follows is track 8, entitled Pain Remains Part 1, Dancing Like Flames. This song marks the beginning of the end as we enter the first of this 3-part epic conclusion. We're met with the sound of rain at the intro, draping the listener in serene energy. The guitar melodies gradually bleed through, feeling like they're coming from a really far distance, far away from where the listener is standing. A catchy guitar riff is introduced, gradually moving closer towards the listener, and once the drums hit about 2 minutes in, you know that it's showtime. We can hear staccato growls and screaming here as well. There's a beautiful symphonic accompaniment in the background, providing a lush amount of fluff for the soundscape. The steady metal groove quickly carries the listener into the verse. It features a blast beat section which completely tears you to shreds. The screams are long and sustained here, and they sound excellent in the mix. The music then comes to a pause as we reach the chorus. The main guitar riff provides that tune for the listener to follow, and the symphonic orchestration in the background provides an epic and regal soundscape for the section. The percussion slows down, hitting you with headbangable grooves, which help with the pacing of the music as we move through the post-chorus. We soon enter the second verse, featuring a blast beat section, which builds into an exhilarating version of the chorus. The double pedal kicks beat into the listener's core as we enter a larger chorus packed with melody and energy. This leads into a guitar solo with this background music following the same chord progression as the chorus. It's such an epic sound that genuinely sounds beautiful. I love the harmonies in the lead guitar. It's a rush of sound and melody. The music calms down after that as we're left with the lush strings and quieter screams. And I can tell that there's a filter on the voices of the vocalists here, which helps make the sound of the bridge more distinct. And just when you think it's over, we're hit with one last section of blast beats. I also love that this song bleeds into the next part. And thematically, this song highlights the protagonist finding love again in their creation. However, there is a sense of pain and loss that reverberates throughout the song, as if something still isn't quite right. As we hear Ramos scream during the bridge and outro, "Take what is left of my life before you go. Show me what it's like to finally know the face behind the silhouette. In this world, I made to be infinite, but I finally see a world without you isn't meant for me. Where do you go when I close my eyes? What do you see looking back at me? Am I just a ghost just like you?" Track 9 is Part 2, After All I've Done, I'll Disappear. The song continues to build in the frantic intro. The following verse features tons of screaming and growling. I like the subtle shifts in the percussive grooves as different rhythms are being played. The chord progression does feel similar to Part 1, though I'm not sure that it is exactly the same. Maybe there's some modulations or some sort of transitions happening here. The guitar riffs definitely do change in this song, though. There's a few distinct riffs that I can identify, each hitting you with complex melodies which move at breakneck speeds, much like the musical accompaniment does. I also enjoy the syncopated elements to the vocals. They help emphasize the groove presented by the percussive performance. The main section here builds into a brief breakdown for the refrain before tossing the listener like a ragdoll into the second chorus. I think my favorite section featured here is the moment where the vocals and percussion seem to be moving in sync. The symphonic orchestration is dropped, leaving us with the melodic guitar riff. And in the final third of the song, the instrumental breathes as the music calms down drastically. All elements of the music are dropped except for faint guitar tones and sparkly synths. This serves as a strong introduction for the guitar solo. Its melodic movement is intricate and grows more beautiful as harmonies are gradually added. This section sounds incredible and leads into the bridge and final chorus. The symphonic orchestration shines through once more, helping the music become more epic before building up to the final part of this epic tune. And thematically, this part highlights the protagonist's realization that their dream world is coming to an end. We hear Ramos scream on the refrain, "Left to suffer, left without your place. Without you, I will never be the same. Let me see you one more time. When you disappeared, you took a part of me. I see you over and over, far beyond me. I'm drifting away." He continues in the chorus, "And after all that I've done, after all of my pain, after all that I've become, will I disappear? Like a ghost in the breeze, like fading memories, like the world you left was only just a dream, so I'll disappear." And finally, part 3, "In a Sea of Fire." The final part to this tune begins with somber symphonic orchestration. A luscious blend of strings provides the listener with beautiful melodies and plenty of ambience. A horn section and percussive elements are gradually introduced, and the music is cinematic in its progression. We're soon hit with an epic choir section as the percussion grows louder. And nearly 2 minutes in, the band abruptly enters the mix, bombarding you with their deathcore sound as the orchestra follows their lead for the first verse. Precise guitar riffs and blast beats build up to the chorus, and there the instrumental calms down, as all we're left with are the vocals to latch onto. The symphonic accompaniment continues to play as the drums and guitars take a step back for the listener to soak in that brutal and beautiful vocal performance. It's more guttural, growling, and the performance is elevated further by the epic musical accompaniment. What follows is more blast beats and shifts in the orchestral accompaniment. New counter melodies can be heard as we enter the second verse, and the second chorus follows the same melodies as the first one, but the percussion continues with its relentless blast beats. The chorus repeats to bring back the slower groove heard at the beginning, though, so it sounds very similar. This builds into an amazing guitar solo, featuring beautiful harmonies as the drums and orchestra chug along. It's a wonderful melodic breather for the listener. The instrumental then calms down as we're met with a blend of rain sounds, subdued screaming, lush string performance, and driving drums that are much less frantic. This leads into a satisfying breakdown section as the music is given enough time to build into it. The vocals and guitars shred the listener apart, with the drums tearing into you like a chainsaw. The music grows more aggressive as it's gradually stripped down, with the drums and vocals gaining a larger presence in the mix. The music then explodes for another chorus which truly pops as the orchestra rejoins the mix full force. And eventually this fades out, leaving the listener to kind of float around in the cosmos as we're left with a spacious bridge leading into the outro. Featuring a synth melody and luscious strings, the band allows the listener that space to breathe for a new melody to be introduced, and this melody is then emphasized in a much larger way as the final blast beat section explodes into the mix. This section is the natural final progression in the song, an epic conclusion for the album. The screaming is sustained as the music hits you with an epic headbanging groove, and as it's over as soon as it began. The end brings the synth melody back and the rain sounds return as well, ending the song on a cold and melodic note. And thematically, the album ends on a bittersweet note. The protagonist here can no longer stand being in this dreamscape, this world of their dream, and makes the decision to destroy all of their creation, abandon ship, and essentially wake up from that dream, returning to wherever it is that they came from. We can hear Ramos scream during the bridge, "I'll damn this world to a sea of flames, forsake the ground and let it bury me. You were nothing but a shackle, now I can breathe. Let this fire rain down and bury me in a sea of flame." And then Ramos continues in the breakdown, "Fuck this existence, bring me back to where it all began in the fall. Wake me up before I lose it all." Overall, this was a beautifully brutal album. Lorna Shore manages to blend wonderful symphonic elements with gnarly death metal sounds to present the listener with a gigantic and epic body of music. The first listen for me was a lot to take in at once, and the more I listened to the album, the more it made sense to me. There's a cohesive narrative the band develops from one song to the next, and the music naturally becomes the soundtrack for that story. A lot of the instrumentation is bombastic and unforgiving, but the band makes sure to provide the listener with moments to catch their breath, relax. It can't all be high energy all the time, and they manage that balance very well. While there are no vocal melodies to be heard here, the band does pack the instrumental with wonderful soaring melodies provided by that orchestral accompaniment, and plenty of mind-numbing guitar melodies with those riffs. All of the performance on this album are polished, true virtuosity, the way metal is meant to be. This album is for the rock fans that are looking for something that pushes the envelope, especially if you've never listened to extreme metal like this, something that goes further beyond just your average heavy metal or, I guess, adjacent styles. It showcases the beauty of extreme metal, these subgenres that, if you're not into these kinds of sounds, these wilder and more feral subgenres of metal, then this album is definitely not for you. But if you would like to dip your toes into a style that is crazier and more frantic than what you may be used to, this is definitely a good album to try out. Although I agree, most of Lorna Shore's music is very similar, but this one just is a sleek repackaging of the sounds that they have become known for. But anyhow, if you've sat here and you've listened to me talk about Lorna Shore and their latest Pain Remains, I really do appreciate you taking the time to do all that. And if you are listening to new music, or you make music or some kind of art that you really would like to share with somebody, you can certainly send that my way. And if you would like feedback and or constructive criticism, I am more than happy to provide that as well. Just let me know at any time. And with all that being said, I hope that you're having a very wonderful day. Make sure to stay hydrated and stay warm out there. It's going to be really, really cold this winter, so make sure to bundle up and take care of yourself. Peace.